Okay, so what did we do on Tuesday? I showed you, well, we were reviewing some of the work that you have submitted. Everything's quite good. And I showed you how to work with these exploded views, but we're not exploding things in different directions. We're just analyzing different aspects of the building, the shell, the internal partitions, the envelope, and then the structural elements. Okay, so that's a nice way to convey what the building is like. You remember that we worked with these color schemes, and this is something useful as well. So just basically we need to get across how the building how the building is, especially in these public complicated buildings. We need to convey that information in different ways. We can use colors, we can use schematic views like this, splitting the building into its components, or we can just, this is the traditional way, we have the plans, sections, elevations, but adding all these 3D views, all this 3D information, I think it's useful because especially in buildings like this, we have a lot of levels, we have ramps, we have walls, we have space, double volume spaces. So adding 3D information and color codes, I think it helps people understand this kind of buildings. What's left? We have to work. I told you that today I'm going to show you how to work with lights, with artificial lights. Usually we have been working with renders using natural light, and that's fine. We can accomplish great things by using natural light, even though without natural light there is no architecture. Okay, so what is the definition of architecture by Le Corbusier? I think I've mentioned this before, and if I haven't, let's it's Corbusier definition of architecture. Architecture is the masterly, correct, and magnificent play of volumes brought together in light. I love this sentence. Okay, so this is what the architecture is. Okay, so we are working with volumes, and we are working with light. Without light, we don't have any volumes. Nowadays we have artificial light, but 100 years ago we had candles. Well, maybe 100 years ago, electricity already existed, or not.
It might have, I think.
What?
I think it might have, yeah.
Yeah, but 150, it didn't exist, electricity, 150 years ago. Anyway, artificial light is something very recent, and the only way we had to perceive the volume was with natural light over centuries. Okay, but without light, we don't have architecture. That's another quote. Arquitectura sine luce nulla architectura est. This is Latin. So that means that there is no architecture without light. Okay, so light is something important. Natural light is the most important thing, but now we do have artificial light, and we can do terrible things like this. But we can we have to make the most of this artificial light. And now we have renders, and we can work with the rendering options. Is Revit the best tool when it comes to rendering? No, it's not, and they know that, I think. What do I recommend? Well, we have this Enscape. There's a free student license, and it's quite good. I mean, if you look at pictures with this Enscape, well, this is a video. But I mean, there are a lot of things you can do with this, and the quality of the renders, usually they are better than Revit ones. Okay. What's the problem? Well, this is Revit, and then this is a rendering tool, the Enscape. Okay. So probably you can combine Revit and Enscape, and you will have this. You can insert pictures, people, create realistic textures. Okay, so we're not exploring this because I don't think rendering is that relevant. I mean, everybody loves pictures like this. We can tell if it's a real building or it's a render. We can tell. But I think architecture is more than rendering. Rendering is important, especially if we want to sell a product, okay, because people usually don't understand plans, sections, and elevations. They understand these kind of things. Oh, I want to be in a living room like this, with chimney, fireplace, this weird modern lamp, and this fancy furniture. Okay, I want this house. But I mean, I think there are other aspects in architecture that are more important than rendering. For example, construction. And when it comes to construction, Revit is the best tool that I know of. Maybe there are other tools, but to work with construction elements and creating construction details, Revit is much better than this Enscape. This Enscape is just for rendering. There is another software that nowadays is very it's everywhere, is Lumion. Yeah, I mean Lumion. There's a free trial. It's only for a month. The problem with Lumion is that the system requirements are extremely, well, you need a very, very good computer to run Lumion. We try to run Lumion in these computers, in this computer lab. It runs, but it takes forever just moving. What can we do with Lumion? There are a lot of pictures of renders using Lumion. Yeah, outstanding. We have all these grass, the stones, reflections. Yeah, it's very beautiful. But there's a fancy car here. But well, this is not architecture. I mean, where's the air? Oh, yes, and there is a house. We can use this, but only just to sell the product. And sometimes we are selling something that it's not true. That's the purpose of so we can use Lumion. We are not teaching Lumion, and I don't think we should do it because there are more important things to teach in architecture than just rendering. Okay, but those are two specific tools for rendering. If you are interested, you can always learn how to use this. Here we have a very SketchUp Lumion, so it makes a difference. But yeah, is that important? All these reflections, the shadows, the trees. Maybe it is. Okay, so if you want to go for rendering, you can use Enscape and Lumion. Enscape, I think it's more affordable. I think the licenses are cheaper, and even the free license lasts longer. and you don't need such a good computer to work with Enscape. But let's explore what Revit can do with this artificial lighting. And to do this, I think I'm going to open a new, or well, I will use one of the levels here. And I'm going just to create something simple with a floor and a roof. I need a floor here. And I need a roof. We're going to focus on this box. I want to attach this to the roof. There you go, a masterpiece here. And on this level, we're going to start inserting, because okay, I'm going to go to view, camera. Here we don't have any windows, we don't have any curtain walls. We have a wall, we have a room with floor, ceiling, and 4 walls. And if we try to render, view, render, you see that here we have exterior sun only, or we have artificial light or sun artificial light or artificial light only. So let's try artificial light only, and let's render. Okay, it makes sense. If we have artificial light only and we don't have any artificial lights, this is what we get. Can we adjust the exposure? I think so. If we make it, no, there is no way, because there is no artificial light. Okay. What if we just what if we use sun and artificial? So let's render again. Same, because we don't have any windows. That can, well, can we have a room without any windows? Yeah, we can. Or it might be at night, and if we are rendering something at night, we need an artificial light. Okay, so how can we start inserting artificial lights here? So we need families. We have to insert family, and there are lighting. We have architectural and MEP. We use MEP when we want to calculate things. If we want just to model or to render things, we can use the architectural. And then we have external and internal. In external, we have external lights, a few of them. But let's use internal, and we have a lot. Well, a lot, have a few. We have wall lamps, and floor lamps, ceiling lights. Well, the first thing we have to understand is that if we insert a ceiling light, we can use architecture, place a component. So we have this ceiling light, flat round. And well, where can we place this? We need a ceiling. We need a false ceiling. Okay, we need a host. For most of these lights here, we need a host. Without a host, we cannot place any lights. And what is that host? We need a false ceiling. If we are working with a ceiling light, so you see that here we can create ceilings. I don't think we have done this in this course. We haven't created any ceiling.
I don't think so.
No, I don't think so. Okay, so let's do it now. This is a false ceiling. I mean, we have this here. We have the lamps there, and yeah. So we use a false ceiling because we don't want to see the structural elements. We want to hide the cables or the pipes or whatever. So the first thing we can use a ceiling just by clicking here, automatic ceiling. You see that you just hover the mouse and there's like a red light, a red line here. So these are the limits, and we have just created a ceiling. If we go to the 3D view, this one, now we have tiles. So by default, I think I have created two. Yeah, I created two ceilings. So by default, we have these tiles. And yeah, then we remove these tiles and then we can access all the equipment or all the pipes or the things that we have here. If there's a ceiling, now we can insert the light. Should be able to insert the light. Maybe on level 10. Level 0. Okay, there you go. So now we have a light. Two of them, actually. I think I should be able, or probably I need to go to ceiling plan. Anyway, the lights are there, or the light is there. And now if we go to render, we select artificial light only, and we render. Okay, so now we do have a light spot. It's very weak, but now adjusting the exposure, making it brighter. Okay, so you see that little by little, we have let there be light. So we can do this. Okay, so now we have artificial light, and we need to adjust the exposure because if it's too dark, we would see only just the light, and if we are making it brighter, we are applying, and it shows up here. Shadows doesn't matter. The only thing that matters here is the exposure. The white point makes warmer, or so if it's cooler, it's like grayish. If it's warmer, it tends to be yellowish or reddish or more orange. Okay, so that's the temperature of color. It's a figure of speech. I don't know, because the color doesn't have a temperature. But people, or when if we're looking something like this, we tend to think that it's cold. But if we see something like this, we tend to think that it's warm. Okay, so these orange, yellow, red colors are always something warm. Grayish, bluish, or green, it's something cold. Okay, so that's why we have this color temperature here. The saturation, it's if we click here, it's gray, and here is yeah. So depending on what color we are using, if we select intense, it shows the color Yeah, so that tends to be red. So if you select intense, it's more red than if you select something in the middle, which is between yellow, orange. Okay, and then the shadows and the highlights, I don't think it, yeah, so the highlights, it's the brighter or darker. That the thing that really matters is the exposure. If we make it brighter or if we make it darker, it will make a difference. Okay, so this is what really matters, this value. Okay, so we need a ceiling because we need a host for the lamps. And let's explore what kind of lamps we have here. We insert, allow family. This is everything that it's ceiling. Okay, we need this. Then we have the recessed cam, downlight spot. We have wall lights. Okay, so wall light, we need a host, which is a light. And we need a pendant lamp. They are hanging from the ceiling, but we do need a ceiling. And if we need a table lamp, we need a lamp, we need a table and wall lamp. Okay, so let's open all these. And then on level 0, let's try to insert different details. Pendant. No, I can't. At least I can do this. Okay, so there's another ugly lamp here. What else? I can insert this. Oh, this is just a support. It's not even lamp. Okay, so it doesn't matter. We have the ceiling lights and this one. Oh, we have a wall. So if we have a wall lamp, we need a wall. Okay. So as you can see, we can insert different lamps here. And those lamps work only if we are working with the renders. Even if we are working with realistic colors, I don't think the lamps are working. No, they're not. Okay. It works if we go to graphic display option. If we work with ray trace, realistic, I think it works with, okay, so here in graphic display option, we can use the same thing. And we're working with artificial lights. Yeah, that's interesting. Here, we can create groups. Okay, that's interesting because, for example, if we have ceiling for pendant lamps and then we have wall lamps, I would create a new group with wall lamps. And then I will move all the wall lamps to group wall. Okay. And now that means that I can select all of them. If I select or if I activate or I can select or deselect all of them at the same time. So that's useful because usually I want to turn on all the wall lamps at the same time or turning them off at the same time. So creating groups of lamps, it's always useful. Okay, and now we apply. Well, I can use this if I use realistic and I use artificial lights. Then I have the same feeling as I have when I using a render. Okay. And exposure, I can make it manual and I can make it brighter and apply or darker. Be careful with exposure because if it's too dark, you don't see anything, but if it's too bright, it's like you're burning something, it's too bright. So it should be something in the middle. So we need to be careful with the exposure. But that's the effect of having artificial lights in our building. If you don't have any natural light, you don't have any windows, you need to use artificial lights, or you can combine both. You can always combine natural and artificial lights. And then about this, we always have a low, well, I think the render is better because we don't see with visibility graphics or the graphic display options. I don't want to show edges, and I apply. And now I don't see the lines. They're all very ugly, by the way. Okay, the default lamps that we have in Revit, they are, I wouldn't place any of those at home. Anyway, this is what we have. So since those lamps are extremely ugly, what do I do? Lighting, artificial lights. I'm going to turn all those lights off. Okay. If I turn everything off, then there are no lights there. So instead of using those lights, I'm going to insert something different, which is the call it downlight spot. Yeah. I think this is the downlight spot. Okay. What can I do with this? If I go to architecture, component, place, if I have, no, this is not what I want, because here we do need a ceiling to place that. No, there's another family. Okay. The studio light, yeah, that is what I want. The studio light is just a light. It doesn't have any hardware. It's just a light spot that you place somewhere, and let's see how it works. So I don't want this one, and I don't want this. So let's place the spotlight. Or the studio light, sorry. I think this will work even in the plan. Okay, so in the plan, this is working. They are not visible in this. Okay, let's see where it is. It's there, but I want to move it down. We just, okay, so we can place this just in the middle of the room without any host. And what's the effect of this spotlight? Let's find out. Let's go to view, render, on the artificial lights, artificial only, and let's render. Okay. Okay, that's the effect of this spotlight or the studio light. It's just a light, and we don't have any hardware. We don't have any lamp associated. The exposure, let me hide the wall. Let's render again. Okay, so now we don't have the wall lights. And the only light that we have here is that spotlight, or maybe this one is on as well. The exposure is too high, so we will bring it down. No, so that's it. Okay, and I like this kind of lights because you don't have to place the lamp here. Of course, this is not real. This doesn't exist. But I can imagine what the effect of the light would be without placing a lamp. And then I can create, I don't know, I can do something here. I can create a shape with Revit, but I don't have to install one of these the lamps that I have here. So I think we're going to work with these spotlights to try to create something beautiful. At least we will try in that render. So we are going to work with only artificial lights. We are not going to work with natural lights, and let's see what happens. This is, I mean, it's not easy. In mastering lights, you have to do a lot of effort, or to make a lot of effort, and then you have to try a lot of things. I'm not a fan of rendering with Revit, and I'm not an expert on using these artificial lights with Revit. But I don't want to spend a lot of my time because I'm getting old, and I think it's not worth it. If I want to create good renders, I will go for Lumion or Enscape, but I won't use Revit. Revit is fine. With natural light, you can do things that are quite good. And even with these spotlights, you can do something that it's you can be proud of. But creating like an outstanding rendering in Revit, I think it's not worth taking that time. Because I'm sure that either in the next version, it will be much better, or probably you can export the Revit model to Lumion and then create a better render with less effort. Okay. But we'll try to do something good with Revit today using artificial lighting. Okay, I remember that our friend Scott had a nice So Scott, you remember your cover page? Have you tried to do something? Have you tried a render with that cover page, or you haven't tried anything yet?
I haven't tried it yet. I'm a little in the weeds with collab.
Okay. Well, I'll show you what to do with this now, and then you can try this week or next week or whatever. Yeah, so this is your drawing, and this is your cover page. Yeah, so we have this. It's a nice spot. It's a nice view. And do we need a render to create something beautiful out of this? I don't think so. Just with the basic graphic display options, if we use shaded and we cast shadows, and well, we will work with lighting. Let's see. Okay, usually this is always too dark. but with lighting, if we work with the ambient light, we can make it brighter, and it always looks better, getting better. And if we don't have edges, it will look more like a render. Let's try the consistent colors or the realistic. Okay, so here we do have natural light, and is it good enough? Well, not bad. Here we have this stainless steel column. I think we have the reflections. Yeah, but there's a lack of depth in this drawing, and this is what the artificial light can give us. Okay, um, it's not bad, and probably we need Photoshop. Okay, so we can do this. We can try different shots, and then we can use Photoshop, creating different layers and working with different layers. This is what we need for the midterm. And now we're going to try to create a render which is good enough. Okay, but just by using these basic graphic display options, I think you can do something good enough. And if you import this to Photoshop, you can start placing people and and even I'll try to work with this. I will create a render in cloud, and I'm going to do something a final medium is fine, and exposure. So let's send this to the cloud, and it's in the background. And here we have the render progress. Yep, okay, we will see. I mean, we did this, and now that I'm looking at it, it's not bad. I think it's good enough. And we did this with Revit and natural light without any artificial lights here. Okay, so I think it's worth it. I mean, to improve the quality of this picture, of this render, you can do this with Photoshop easily. But if you want to improve the quality of this render in Lumion or Enscape, you have to spend a lot of time, and you have to run your computer for hours and hours. But I think this is good enough. And what matters here is the space, the light, the double or triple volume. So this is what really matters in architecture. Anyway, this is working. So let's. So now here we are going to work with artificial lights. And working with artificial lights, close. I have a lot of things open here. The problem is that now the building is quite complicated. So let's open level 10. And there's another problem. We don't have any false ceiling in this building. It doesn't make sense. There are no false ceilings in that building. So probably we cannot use the lamps, the ceiling lamps that we have by default in Revit. So I think now the option is using the spotlight or the studio light that we have created. So I'm going to insert again family studio light. And now I can place studio light somewhere. Where is it? It's not visible. Is it because of the visibility graphics? Do we have lighting fixtures? Light source. Okay, so it's a hidden light source. So let's apply. And where is it now? Okay, it's here. And the first one, I think it's there. Yeah. Where are they? They are on level 10, but we don't see these. We have wireframe. Fine. They are not showing up. What about level 0? No, they are not there. Okay, so apparently we have to work with the 3D view. And now we can move, because in the 3D view, they do show up. So let's try to move these lights. So I'm going to place the lights, I think, here. I don't want to see this one. And now I need to see the level of this light. Move it down. And I'm going to copy a few of them. 1, 2, and 3. Okay, so now in the cover page, we have the lights there. And let's see the effect when we create a, well, I think we can do that even in the graphic display options. We can work with lighting. We can, yeah, but we have to use realistic, sun and artificial. And let's apply. And these lights are not on. Okay, let's create a render. Artificial only. And let's render. Okay, the lights are there. They are very weak. But I think if we adjust the exposure, because it's too dark. Okay, it's getting better. Okay, so this is at night. We don't have any natural light here. And we have spotlights here. And this is the effect that we want. Probably they are too close to this structure, so that's why we have this bright color here. And I don't like it that much. And as you can see, we don't have anything here. It's too dark, and we don't see anything. So there is no. We have this sense of depth because there is no light here. So we understand that as we go farther, we don't have any light, and it's because there is nobody in this part of the building. Okay, so at least we can have this effect. Well, it's interesting. If we use sun and artificial, and we render again, yeah, the thing is that the natural light is so strong that yeah, here we can see that there is an effect of the artificial light, but it doesn't matter, or it's not that much. I can adjust exposure and make it bright, darker. Yeah, but everything is darker now. Okay, with this natural light, the effect of the artificial light is not that relevant, and it's a shame because in artificial light, okay, dimming 0 to 1. The dim is the or they fade. Can I change this? No, it's just 0.5. Okay, so let's work just with artificial only, and just exposure. Okay, I have changed the dimming. I'm going to change it again. Okay, so you see that what the dimming effect is doing. So we are reducing the influence of each light. Okay, so this light, they are all in the same position, and look at the effect of the light on the ceiling. So by reducing the dimming, I can do that. I think it's always better reducing this. So I will make it 1.1. Render again. And I'm going to adjust this. Okay, now what do I want? Imagine that I want to create light here in this level 0, but I don't want a light on this level 10. Okay, so this part of the building is operating and this part of the building is off and we don't have any light there. I can do that by working with the 3D view, and I can copy one of these lights all the way here. And now I want to move it down. And I'm bringing it down. And now I copy multiple. Artificial lights right there. Okay, now we can see the effect. We see the effect that we have light here, and we don't have light on this second floor. But you can notice that it takes, unless you master the lights in Revit, it takes a long time to create nice perspectives. But that happens with every single simulation software or rendering software when you are working only with artificial lights. Okay, so creating something that it's natural and real or realistic, it's quite difficult. Okay, so if you like it, and if you like spending your free time exploring different options, that's fine. But if you don't, let's go with a natural light, and it will be much better. Okay, but this is how the option of having hardware here, artificial lights, you need a ceiling. In most of the objects that you can insert by default, you need a false ceiling. And in buildings like this, we don't have false ceilings because we have ramps. The roof is folded and then it becomes the floor. So we don't have false ceilings. And if we don't have false ceilings, most of the lights that we can insert in Revit don't work. So we can work with these spotlights, and it's fine, but it takes a lot of time. Okay, so now I will try to go for this one. If I go to artificial lights, I can create, yeah, so probably if I reduce the dim here, that will look better. And if I create groups, I can create a group of ramp lights. And then I can create the restaurant lights. And all these belong to ramp, and all these belong to restaurant. Okay. And the theme of this restaurant, I can make them 0.2, all of them, and all of them 0.1. Okay, and I render in. Okay, that's slightly better. Then what if I place the lights on the here on this ramp? Let's find out now. Hello. Let's work with this. And girls, I'm giving a lesson, so you can stay, but please don't talk. Okay, don't speak. Okay, I was, yeah, I remember. So it's annoying that I can't use or I can't see the lights on. Oh, now I see them. Okay, great. So now I can copy this one. And I want this light to be here, outside, at the other side of this curtain wall. And the level is here. And I can move it down. And now I want to copy that here. And now let's see the cover page again. And visualize. Okay. Yeah, by placing this here, we make sure that we have all these weird lights and shadows. Probably there's a problem with the dim, but since you are rendering, you see that you have all these reflections, and well, it's getting better. The more things you are showing, the better it looks. But I have to go back to the artificial lights. We have this ungroup lights. I think I need to create a new group, outdoor ramp. And then I have to place all these on this group. And I'm going to work with the dim 0.4. And let's try again. Okay, so we can see how little by little this is getting better, but takes a lot of work, right? And you have to try different things. You have to place the lights in different places, and let's see what happens. Let me see this render. Okay, it's ready, but only with that was only with natural light, and it's not good enough. So I think by rendering this option and the other option, and then combining these two pictures in Photoshop, maybe we can do something decent. Or maybe we can try here the artificial and the sun. try. No, doesn't work. Okay, I like this. It's not bad, but it takes a lot of time. So that's it. This render, it doesn't have a good quality, but you have to set this quality to draft. And when you are ready, you can use the high or the best quality because it will take much longer. Okay, but I think yeah, that's good enough. I'm going to export this as a file, and now I'm going to work with Photoshop here. So I can go to the desktop. This is the cover page. And you have to do this with a high quality render. And in the meantime, we can send this to the cloud to see what happens. I'm going to use a final, medium, and exposure. Okay, let's try. I'm going to open Photoshop. Where is Photoshop here? Okay. And well, it's not bad. It's growing on me. And now we have to look for probably people. And I want this to be a PNG. And I'm going to save it. here, and this happy couple. I have to rasterize this. And finally scale. It shouldn't happen. If you import a PNG, you should get rid of the white background, but maybe it's not the right option. Let me try the second one. Number 2. Why? Let's layer and get rid of this. Well, I don't know, Scott, do you like it?
Yeah, I think I'll play around with that, and maybe I'll try blending it with natural light, and also I'll try moving the sun to later in the day so it's not quite so harsh coming in that entrance.
Yep, I think merging these two, I'm going to create another render with the same resolution, but with some natural light. Here we have interior, sun, artificial. Let's do this. Yeah, but I think now we have to reduce the exposure because it's too bright. Make it darker. And export cover page number 2. And yep, let's open Photoshop again. Scale. Work with the opacity. So it's getting better. Probably adding some color here will help because in this place we can look at the original building because we have a picture from here. Yeah, we have this picture. We don't have a lot of natural light here. But in fact, I like the render better than the actual building. Yeah. And the only thing is
It
probably,
sells better.
yeah, I think so. Because this is like, well, it's not that. But well, these poor people in the Netherlands, they don't have any sun. I mean, and that's why they use a lot of colors. And this is something when you don't have sun, you have to use colors because otherwise everything is grayish. Okay, so especially in Scandinavian countries or in Northern Europe countries, they have a colorful architecture that we don't have in Southern Europe because we don't need it because we have a lot of sun and that makes our day. But they have to use colors, yeah, because otherwise everything will be gray. But I think adding some colors here will help understand this project, and probably just by using uh, colors in these columns. I mean, if you make it red or something like that, I think it will be better than just we have material. We can always create a new material and we can make it red. Okay, so we have created this default new material. And okay, it has an effect here. So let's try to create a render now. Where is it? View, render, and I work with artificial light, and I create another render. Oh no. Yes, because I want just artificial light only. I have to adjust exposure. Yeah, that's much better. Even you have the reflections of the red columns on the, yeah, so it's getting better. And what about this? Probably we have this handrail or whatever. Okay, so I'm going to export this one for page number 3. And if I can select this and instead of a wall, I edit and I can create another default material which is green. And the appearance as well. Okay, now let's render artificial lights, render. Okay, so now export. This is cover page 4. And now I'm going to place it there. Rasterize. And well, I think it's good enough. What if I make it? No, the problem is that. Okay. I like it. But as you can see, it takes time. First, it takes time to set the right lights in the right position. Then it takes time to adjust the exposure. So you need experience to do this. If you're working with natural light, results are good at the beginning. But if you're working with only artificial lights, it's much more complicated, especially if you haven't done this before. Because working with artificial lights, and believe me, you can learn more about lighting, watching movies, or playing video games than watching tutorials in Revit, because you need to understand what it takes. You need to understand how to create this sense of space or depth, and that comes with experience, watching a lot of pictures, and especially, I told you, movies and video games. You can understand what to do, because if we are creating this rendering with artificial lights, we need to convey the idea of what's in the first, or what is closer to the camera, and what is the closest elements to the camera, and what the farthest element is. And you can do this by placing the lights on the right place. Okay, but it's not easy, and there is no recipe. So you have to try different things, and when you are, but just by trying different things, just by merging different layers in Photoshop, you can end up having something interesting. Okay, so at least you can try this. But if you don't want to use Photoshop, I don't know, this is good enough. And then you can save it to the project, and it will be a branch of the project browser, over page 1. Okay. So here we have renderings, and then you can use this on the sheet, on the cover page. you can use directly the render that you have done. What's the problem? That, well, we can't, well, you can insert here people if you download people from, but I think working with Photoshop, you can add some value with little effort working with Photoshop. I don't know, I like this better than the original rendering here. And yeah, probably this is to, if we delete this eraser, yep. So I'm going to make it bigger, and I'm going to try, and what if we try a night view from outside? So I'm going to try this just to finalize, because we do have perspective northwest. I'm going to create another view. This is level 0. Level 0. And I'm going to place a camera here. I don't like it. Okay, let's try a view from outside with artificial light only. So let's try a render. Artificial light only and render. Well, it takes time because the more glass we have in the view and the more reflections and all that stuff, the more it takes. In the meantime, I'll see the next render. Okay. I like this one. Okay, so that was the render without artificial light, and this is the render with artificial light. Yes, I think it's cool. Here we have to adjust exposure, make it brighter. Okay, well, that's interesting, but I think we need more lights here. So what if I place let's leave view. copy all those lights here. And with this 3D view, I'm going to render again. Well, that needs more work, but yeah, I think you can end up having something interesting just by because this building is transparent, because the pictures during the night are important. Okay, so that we can see the transparency. Yeah, I think the original picture is better than this render so far, but we are getting there. But no, really, I think this view is much more appealing than this one. Okay, so it's the same space, and even with colors, it's even better. Yeah, so I think that's the well. There's a debate. Do we have to create renders that are better than the reality? In my opinion, yes, we have to, because we are artists, and reality is always boring and disappointing. So what's the point of creating realistic views? We have to try to do something better than reality, at least at the first stage of the project. And we can do that with Revit. I mean, with Lumion, probably that will look much better. But we have been working in this for less than an hour, and we end up having something that it's good enough. Okay, so go ahead and try new things. But I think by merging different layers with Photoshop, I think that this is that always works. Okay, and when we have this mess with different lights, different shadows, maybe we don't know where these lights come from, but it looks nice. It's better than having like a flat color here in the ceiling. So that looks better. And rendering, you can add these reflections that you can do this with the traditional um, graphic display options. Okay, so trying to work with renders, it's always yeah, you should do it, because it adds value to the final picture. Just in 5 minutes, let me see if I can do something. There is something that probably we haven't explored, and it will work especially for schematic views. We can try this with okay, we're going to do this print PDF. Setup. Okay. So I'm printing a PDF. And now I want to open Adobe with Photoshop. Okay. We can create a new layer with a white background. Okay, that's the regular view. But if we just merge, let's merge visible, and we use image adjustment invert, we have this white line with the black background that might be interesting for some options, especially if we are working with schematic views. If you're working with levels without shadows, and if we show the axis, let's print this. Review, okay, print. And open. Create a white background. Oh, this is a good layer. White background, merge, and invert. Okay. So working with a black background, with white lines and black backgrounds, it's always nice. People like it, and it gives the idea that you have worked more. I mean, if you show something with black lines and a white background, it's like, okay, there are a few lines here, you haven't worked enough. But just by turning this into, by inverting the colors, it looks, so this is good for presentations, because it's more, it catches the eye. I mean, if you see black lines in white background, it's not, but if you see the other way around, it looks like, oh, what's that? It looks different, and it always looks better. So you can try this in one of the sheets. Maybe you can, I'm going to save this. GG. Okay, so if you have the section here, and if you insert this picture. And you create like a black okay. Well, I mean, if you create like a black rectangle here and you just show this in white, lines in white, it can be something that you can have the big picture here, and then you can have like a black column in which you are showing different plants. And if you try these schematics here in this black background, it will look even better. Okay, so instead of doing the schematic colors in Revit, you can always select here this, and easily you can create these schematics here, and it will look better, I think. It's up to you, but try different things and show me what you are doing, and I will give you some feedback. And if you have any questions over the weekend, email me. I will record tutorials, and I will give you some ideas for the final presentation. But as you can see, I don't know, we can do fun things, and it's a question of having fun. I mean, don't if something is, well, first you have to struggle, but once you're able to do something good, you will have a lot of fun with Photoshop, Revit, and and this is it. If you're not able to do what you want to do, you will suffer, but it lasts only 5 or 6 minutes. If you persevere, you will get a good result.